Hi, welcome to the Open Case channel. Today we bring you a new case for you. I hope you enjoy it. We hope you are all well from wherever in the world you are tuned to this channel. So let's go. One of the most incredible stories would take place in Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. It was the beginning of 2009. The whole country was undergoing a significant change. A new operational modality was made known through the media, because despite being a practice that had existed for some time, his name, Santiago López, 45 years old, alias El Chango, originally from Guamuchil, Sinaloa, who after his capture confirmed that the number of victims he disappeared was at least 300 people, which gave him the nickname of El Pozolero, the Pozolero. Pozol is a typical broth in Mexico, made from corn kernels, to which chicken or pork meat is added. Pozolero is called the cook of that food, but in organized networks, the Pozolero is the one who dissolves the bodies to disappear them. Described by those who knew him as a reserved man of few words, a hard worker, he was a bricklayer, besides having a wife and children and a normal family. He knew his wife Irma since childhood in the city of Guamuchil, Sinaloa. She was 9 years old and he was 11 years old when they lived in the same neighborhood, where they suffered from many shortages, a place where many people were dedicated to look for Colorado mud to make bricks and sell them. With the passage of time he learned this trade and soon became a bricklayer until one day he was called to work on a ranch, where his main job was to take care of it, supporting the care of the animals and necessary work that would be needed for the maintenance of it. The chronology of the crime arose in a ranch called La Galega, located in El Ejido de Maclovio Rojas, in Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico, a place where previously, it was a cockfighting rooster farm located on the street Sihuic, on top of a steep hill, where rural roads are present, a place that time later, it would give to know one of the stories and realities that are lived in Mexico, where thousands of bones have been found. The story goes back to 1996, when Santiago Meza worked for the Arellano Felix family taking care of horses and doing masonry work. One day, the leaders of the organization invited him to see an experiment. When walking to that place he witnessed a metal drum, where minutes later was filled with liters and liters of water along with other substances, and they asked Santiago Meza to throw a leg of beef that he had to let stand for 2 hours, and every so often he had to move the substance. When he did that, he noticed that little by little the meat and the bone was falling apart. Until that moment was the only thing they allowed him to see. Without saying anything else, he was only witness of this experiment, which was brought by two people from Israel, who were dedicated to this activity. But only a few months later they requested his presence again. This time they told Santiago that they were going to experiment with human flesh and that they were going to send him some young people to help him. The first body was dissolved one night in 1996 in a tambo with 200 L of water, where it was thrown. Once inside they lit a gas burner and left it all night. The next day, when observing the tambo, they noticed that the water had become very foamy. Then they placed the lid and put it on a truck to take it to throw it in the arroyo, and only 3 months later they asked him again to do the same, although for a moment, he mentioned that he did not want to do it anymore. Soon they offered him $600 a week. After thinking about it for days, he mentioned that he told his wife, "I prefer my job to you dying of hunger." From then on, the hen house would become their center of operations, where they installed a drain through which they threw the remains of the bodies they dissolved. They used 2 metal drums, soldiers one on top of the other, to add 200 L of water to later pour 2 sacks of caustic soda and other chemicals. Then they threw the body without clothes. Then they put them to the fire during 8 hours and they left it around 15 hours so that the substances did their work. Later, with a devil, they took the drums and they threw them for the drainage. The remains that did not disintegrate, like the teeth, the nails, and some bones, burned them. The remains that did not disintegrate, such as teeth, fingernails, and some bones, were burned and buried in the same ground. They also washed the drainage with hot water, because some remains, or pozol, as they called it, remained stuck to the ground. When the neighbors asked Santiago Meza about his activities in the place, he would only say that they made gelatins there and you were wondering about the smell, because it was perceptible, but often it was confused with the smell of the goat farm, which was located just a few meters away, so his activities did not raise even the slightest suspicion, or at least, the population preferred not to question anymore. The arrest was made after January 22, 2019. Army elements received a citizen complaint. In a house in the colony Baja California, armed men had been partying for days. The military convoy intercepted the place and many people ran along the beach. Santiago Meza was in that place, and due to his condition, because he was under the effects of alcohol and some substances, he mentioned that they did not know who they were messing with, since he was the Pozolero of Teo. After interrogating him and obtaining information, they took him to the ranch of El Ejido de Ojo de Agua. They took him covered with a blanket. Upon arrival, the military took him out of the truck and took him to the center of the land and ordered him to show them how he did it, to get rid of the bodies. The ranch is a small brick building with 2 high walls. Inside there are holes dug in the ground, industrial drums with liquid waste, and a wooden table with various work tools, meat gloves, knives, containers, and mason's spoons. On January 23, 2009, Santiago Meza appeared on television, with his hands clasped around his neck, his eyes looking down, and some blows on his face. When questioned about how many people he killed, he mentioned that he killed 300, affirming that he did not kill them. His only job was to disappear them and throw the remains into the graves, an activity he had been doing for about 10 years. From this point on, the press spread the news, and soon Santiago Meza was known nationally as the Pozolero. The modus operandi was the following: every week he received the call from his boss, at that time the Teo, a place lieutenant of an organization, who delivered to him the bodies of those who should disappear. They agreed on the date and time of delivery they stayed to see somewhere. It is there where the convoy turned on the lights of change of some vehicle. That meant that the bodies to disappear. Once approaching, the delivery was made. It drove to its center of operations, where in collaboration of 2 people, they prepared the drums with water and soda to dissolve them, always taking the due precautions, with protective equipment, such as special gloves and gas masks. Afterwards, the aforementioned process was carried out, so as not to leave any trace in sight. When the army burst into the Pozolero's kitchen, 10 bodies were in the process of decomposition inside tamos, as well as 3 recently dug graves. The identity of those who could be found in the graves is unknown and probably will not be known, due to the way the bodies were dissolved, as this prevents DNA tests from being performed. When the authorities showed him photos of some of the missing persons, he said that he did not recognize any of them, insisting that he was only doing his job, mentioning that whenever he worked with the human bodies, he did not see their faces, since they all wore a gray plastic tape mask, and when they were put in the drums, they only cut the tape on the back of their necks without removing it completely. In addition to the henhouse, it is known that there were 5 more ranches, one in Ojo de Agua and another in Loma Bonita, where the bodies were also dissolved. At present, in the henhouse, the center of operations of Santiago Meza, and in the other ranches, 15,000 L of organic emulsion, 350 kilograms of bones and more than 6,000 teeth have been found. The authorities have not been able to gather enough evidence to convict him, although he is being held in the Almoloya de Juarez prison, in the state of Mexico, where he finished elementary school and learned to write, taking painting classes, and on occasions he mentions that he misses working his trade as a bricklayer. I hope you liked this video. If so, don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up, to comment and share. I invite you to subscribe to this channel if you are not already, and activate the notification bell to receive the latest uploads. See you next time.